All right, so first off, before I even start here, I just want to say Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland, if either of y'all happen to hear this, y'all are two of the realest motherfuckers in the business. I love you. You will always have my support. And this goes out to you guys. So, this is a response to this EmpLemon video, Rick and Morty, Good Show, M.A.A.d Fandom, which I thought is a really good video. Solid analysis of Rick and Morty, its place in history, its strengths as a show, as well as some of the things that, changed about the show going into Season 3 in terms of what is literally in the series. And I want to talk about Season 3 more from a meta-textual perspective, because as much as I do enjoy this video, and I think that EmpLemon is correct in the things he says, there's another way of looking at Season 3 that I think justifies it in a different kind of way. That while it might not be as good of a season as Seasons 1 and 2, there's an idea that EmpLemon presents in this video that it could have been as good as Seasons 1 and 2. That, like, Season 3 could have been great in the way that Seasons 1 and 2 were great. And I want to kind of contest that idea through following, and this is all going to be anecdotal. I'm not going to go and dig up all the fucking clips and everything that would help me to make my point here, but I was following Justin Roiland throughout the development and release of Season 2 of Rick and Morty, and it gave me some insight through a breadcrumb trail that he sort of left, I think specifically for someone like me to make a video like this at some point, to exonerate Dan Harmon, because I think that Justin Roiland knew that Dan Harmon would act in such a way that he would sort of shoulder any blame for whatever would happen with the show. And, EmpLemon points out this hiring on of 4 new writers as like a big risky move, sort of, that the show took that maybe knocked it off balance. And I want to kind of analyze why that decision was made, what state Rick and Morty was in as it was entering Season 3 on a production side. Because whether or not Rick and Morty could have been great in Season 3, which is something I will contest on the face of it, the real question is whether it should have been great. And what this comes down to is the fact that Rick and Morty is an extremely difficult show to make, because so much of it is just Justin Roiland. He does most of the design work, most of the voice work, most of the creative ideas behind the series. It's essentially his brainchild. Dan Harmon is there to make it a show. Dan Harmon is the show writer who understands the ideas that are being presented by Justin Roiland and could translate them into something that will reach people, something that will have emotional gravitas and make people think that it is deep, when, realistically much of the show is complete nonsense, is just flying out of this man's consciousness. But so these two together, they are sort of the Rick and Morty duo in themselves. Dan Harmon is Rick. Justin Roiland is Morty in this metaphor. And in many ways, I think Rick is Dan Harmon's cry for help, because if you know a lot about him and his personal life, he kind of is somebody who looks at himself as a massive asshole and is trapped in the mentality of, that his cynicism has made him, too mean or too evil or something, in spite of the fact that he wants to be good. So it's like an extremified version of, I think how this is me going, way too analytical into, the personal lives of these people that I do not personally know. But, just the way Dan Harmon tends to sort of seem to treat himself, I think he pours a lot of himself into Rick. So, when you look at the show through the lens that EmpLemon was providing, where Rick taking accountability at the end of Season 2 is this great sort of completion of his arc, I kind of look at it like when they got to the end of Season 2, they knew that Rick and Morty was never going to be the same. They knew that it could not be as good as it had once been. And so the mentality was to give it something that was basically the only ending that makes any sense. Rick taking accountability and going to prison is the emotional ending of the series. Anything beyond that point, and it would just have to be a very serious show about the healing process of this family coming together, you know, something sincere and something that doesn't really have the ability to continue on the breakneck nihilistic, you know, the tone the show is known for. So like, in a way, turning the show into a meme is the only place you can go when it has already reached emotional resolution. And this is sort of the difference that I see between like American cartoons and stuff from other countries, American TV really. Because like, you know, if you're into anime, if you're into Japanese shows, or if you're into British shows, they typically are very short. Like, they are designed to have an ending, to complete an emotional arc, make the point, and be done. Whereas American TV tends to be about going on forever, because it's almost in service of the purpose that it is emotionally numbing entertainment. You know, it's sort of like art's purpose is to help you to find or to reify yourself. And like, it seems like with American media, the idea is not so much that it's about finding yourself, but just like finding a thing that is you and then continuing to engage with that thing forever so that you can keep reinforcing you, you know, as opposed to creating you out of a collection of many different things, you know, that reflect elements of yourself, so to speak. And so, like, if you go down the rabbit hole of thinking Rick and Morty has to go on forever because it is who I am, then it's like, well, if you can't emotionally move on from the show after it reaches its emotional climax of Rick taking accountability, then sort of you've missed the point, and, you know, like, you might as well just go on not getting it. Whereas if you do get the point, then you already know the show's going to be shit. You know there's nowhere it can go. You know that it's already resolved its emotional point, and so functionally it's over. But this is me sort of justifying it, you know, in terms of how I see it, but the reason that it's like this is just simply that, again, the show was very hard to make. It did not have a huge amount of money or staff people behind it, but it was a big success. The people working on it are extremely talented, and so those people were poached. Now, at the start of Season 2 and at the end of Season 2, when they did the premiere and the finale, there were parties thrown by the staff at just like a bar somewhere in LA, I guess, where Justin Roiland was doing Periscope live streams and like interviewing random people on the staff. And he was very much emphasizing bringing up people who were leaving the show. There was a guy who was one of the, basically he considered the like number 3 person after him and Dan, and he introduced him as somebody who was being picked up by Disney. And it's like, this guy has 2 kids, I think a third on the way. He needed a gig that was going to pay more. Disney poached him because he does good work on a good show, and Adult Swim can't afford to, you know, raise this guy's salary above what Disney can to keep him on board. You know, like, ultimately, this is a passion project. This show gets to exist because Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland are willing to take risks and do a show for, you know, like, overextend themselves to make a show good on less budget than it really has. It's the anime mindset. You know, pretty much all anime is created in this mindset because art is inherently worthless. It inherently is just built to tell people something about themselves. And so, you know, if it can only reach so many people, it can only exist insofar as that many people are allowing it to continue to exist. You know, Rick and Morty can only afford as much talent as the number of people who are going to pay attention to Rick and Morty. So, if you want Rick and Morty to have a bigger budget, to be able to accrue and maintain talent in order to, as, you know, EmpLemon says at the end of this video, that Rick and Morty could be great again. And it could, because there could be people who become invested in and interested in understanding these characters and continuing their narrative in a meaningful way. And it might even be that it doesn't go down the road which the, you know, original staff members would have put it down, but it could still go down a good road. It's just a question of, you know, what is the state the show's going to be in if it is popular versus if it's unpopular, you know, like where this show was a success enough to have its staffers poached, not enough for the network itself to take a bigger risk on keeping those people involved, you know? So with this show having lost so many key people that were able to keep it running, I mean, there's a moment where Justin Roiland in that video outright states, if Season 3 of Rick and Morty sucks, it's because this guy left. And as EmpLemon also states in his videos, Rick and Morty Season 3 does not suck. Season 4 does not suck. They are still good TV. They're still better than most TV. They're just not as good as the first 2 seasons. And even personally, I would argue the second season wasn't as good as the first. Because to me, I had already felt that a lot of the emotional arcs of the first season were being dragged out and treading water by the second season, just because of the nature of the idea really was encapsulated so well, so quickly, that there was not a great need for it to go farther. You know, when we were already saying how it was the best show on TV 6 episodes in, like, where was it going to go that it could possibly top having its best ideas put forward? You know, like, restate the ideas, make the point again. Again, you can refract these characters to every conceivable scenario, and that can be entertaining. But, like, the emotional core is so well understood at this point that there's nowhere really that it needs to go. I think to some degree, the fandom deliberately ruined the show, and the people creating it deliberately ruined it. I mean, I look at Pickle Rick as the point was the jumping of the shark. Like, the point of it, the reason that there's a character just explaining what the show is about, and the rest of the episode is just senseless, insane violence with the most mimetic, retarded thing possible. Like, that is the point. And you know that's the point because you already had in season 2 when they redo the channel swapping episode, the whole episode is about how they can't top it. And Rick, you know, just spewing out catchphrases because, like, how can you top the reveal at the end of the season, the wubba lubba dub dub, you know, switcheroo, where it turns out, oh, it had a different meaning, and then he changes the catchphrase at the end. Well, like, you can't just keep making up catchphrases. You've had the meaningful moment. You understand the catchphrase. The gimmick is done, you know? So, like, season 2 already was warning you. Like, we've done all we can. You get to the end, they wrap up everything, they kill almost all the relevant characters, you know, and Rick is sent to prison. It was the end. The season 3 opener was released on April Fool's Day for a reason. You know, it subverts everything and sets everything back, as does the rest of the season, for a reason. It's all just as meaningful, even if it's, you know, not meaningful in a way that's necessarily satisfying. Is this comparable to, like, Rebuild of Evangelion 3.0? Yes. It's also better than that, because that movie fucking sucks. This is at least actually entertaining media that, you know, again, if this show as a platform does develop itself back into something that is hype, that is considered great, that more people are paying attention to, then, you know, it can be a platform for writers to come to express themselves through the lens of, you know, training themselves on Rick and Morty. You know, watching this video made me think about, like, I wouldn't be surprised if the reason The Simpsons sucks is that it has no reason to be good. You can literally train people on it. Just like, hey, you got a new writer who needs to, like, figure out how structure works, put them on The Simpsons. People will watch it no matter how much it sucks because they're addicted to these characters. So, like, what can this platform be used for that is useful, you know? Milking the obsession of people who can't let go in order to get what you can out of it for the people who are working on it. Because ultimately, art is always a trade. It's not about making the best possible product. It's about making something that is fulfilling for you at the level of engagement that, you know, that it reaches, whether that be through, you know, like getting the fulfillment of, wow, people like my thing, or the monetary benefit of, wow, people are letting me live off of my thing. But, like, again, when the point's been made, all that's left is to milk the cow for all it's worth. And I think that's where the show is at this point. All of this is meaningful and deliberate. To think it's not would mean that you are saying that somehow something changed between what was going on before and what was going on afterwards. Something did change, but it was not the intentions behind the show. It was the, you know, the actuality of its ability to be risen to its, you know, full intent. Again, none of this is to say Rick and Morty could not have, like, conceptually been great in season 3. I just mean to say it literally couldn't because they were not literally capable. And I think that Justin Roiland wanted that to be clear. I think he left a lot of information on Twitter and stuff. He even, you know, he had dropped details about Solar Opposites being something he was working on during season 2 of Rick and Morty, way before it was relevant. I think partially to indicate his moving on from the show. Again, I really think that he was putting himself at great risk to make sure that the information was out there, that, you know, there was reasons that this show was going to end up the way that it was. He knew it was coming, and he knew that people wouldn't be able to talk about it, and that Dan Harmon was going to let things fall on him, especially after, you know, hiring 4 female writers, knowing full well that people were going to take things out on that as well, you know. So, again, I respect all the decisions these people made. I enjoyed seasons 3 and 4 of Rick and Morty. No, they're not as good as season 2. Season 2 wasn't as good as season 1. Nothing will ever be as good as season 1 of Rick and Morty from these creators, because they put it all out there. You know, like anything they do from this point forward, they already made Rick and Morty. They should just be out there making money, you know? Like, when EmpLemon describes Solar Opposite as Rick and Morty with extra steps, well, yeah, that's because Rick and Morty ran through everything in the first season. Solar Opposites is designed to go on as long as possible, so it won't do what Rick and Morty did, you know? Does that mean it's a show that's less worthwhile for you and I to watch? Yes, but, like, we've already seen the soul of Justin Roiland, you know, in its purest form. We need those of us interested in, you know, consuming things for its soul. We'll always have to look on to new artists in order to see new originality as it springs, or artists who are, you know, continuing to live nose to the grindstone because they're not trying to, like, support an artistic village with their creations the way that anybody working on a TV show is. So, yeah, just some perspective I wanted to put out there. Thanks for watching, and if you want to send me money, use the links in the description. Thanks, bye.